Hello and welcome everybody. We are going to be doing another hero guide today covering Zenobia. She's a super interesting support character that grew on me over time. Her debuffs and area control is what drew me to her, and just her overall utility in the game. The roles that Zenobia fits into are mainly her support role, but she also fits into the role of providing debuffs for your team, disruption, crowd control, decent damage over long engagements, but lack of heavy burst, and a lot of area control. Let's cover abilities of Zenobia now. First on the list is Gaze of Envy. Her basic attack is a beam attack and drains the life from enemies. Your options from this path are going to be Greedy Gaze, which is going to gain more health, and from there you can go into Survival of the Cruelest, which will gain 50% more health when your health is below 50%. Or you can go into Domineering Glaze, when above 50% health, deal 50% more damage. Your other path option is Withering Gaze. While attached, Gaze of Envy will inflict weakness, negative 20% damage for 1 second while attached. You can go into Sap Strength from there, which your weakness is going to become more potent if you stay on the same target, up to 40% weakness. Siphon Strength is going to provide your allies a 15% basic attack damage for 1 second while attached, so this can be very nice in team fights. Words of Spite is a crack armor that is a homing projectile. It will provide negative 10 armor for 3 seconds and is on a 6-second cooldown. Your build options from there would be Echoes of Spite, which would bounce to 2 additional targets, applying that cracked armor debuff to both targets. From there you can go into Words Travel. This is faster travel time and increased range. You can go into Cunning Words for your other option, and this is if enemy is debuffed, applies bleeding. So this will be 150 damage over 3 seconds, so 50 damage per second for 3 seconds. You could go into Demoralizing Cry, which on hit drains move speed, slows enemy, and hastes self for 2 seconds. So you're going to slow them, you're going to speed up. You can go into Screaming Halt, and this is on hit if enemy is already suffering a debuff, will inflict a cripple, which will decrease their jump and move speed. You can go into Feast of Spite, which is on hit, gain health while you drain speed, and that is 75 health per second on that one. For Wave of Sorrow, this is a ground-based projectile that weakens enemies for 4 seconds and will knock them up in the air a little bit. This is on a 13-second cooldown. Your build options are going to be Sorrow's Wake, which is going to move through enemies. From there, you can go into Savor the Sorrow, which is going to heal you for 75 hit points for each enemy hit. Or you can go into Crack and Ruin. If the enemy has cracked armor, it will apply broken armor, which is negative 25 armor on them for 4 seconds. Your other build path that you could go to is Banishing Sorrow. This is going to launch enemies up on hit. From there, you can go into Heightened Sorrow, which enemies not inside of Mark of Despair are launched away on hit. This can go pretty far if you want to knock them away. You can go into Compounding Sorrow, which, if enemy is slowed, it will inflict Extreme Weakness, which is negative 60% damage for 4 seconds. Mark of Despair is an area effect slow that lasts 6 seconds, and this is on a 16-second cooldown. From here, you can go into Depths of Despair. It affects a larger area and applies poison, which is 50% healing reduction. Your build options from there are Toxic Relationship, which is heavy poison, negative 75 healing reduction. Or you can go into Conduit of Despair, which enemies inside give more health to Zenobia from all other abilities. Building Anguish after 1.5 seconds will deal damage and inflict Curse, which denies buffs for 2 seconds. You can go into Crippling Anguish from there, which is dealing damage with Mark of Despair, also inflicts Cripple for 3 seconds. Revel in Anguish, which is going to be dealing damage with Mark of Despair, grants Zenobia 15% damage for 3 seconds. Zenobia's focus ability is called Cursed Soul. It is an area effect, and it will disable enemies and drain 50 hit points for the duration. Enemies cannot take damage while cursed, but they're essentially in stasis. You'll see kind of a little purple bubble around them, and just don't bother hitting them if Zenobia has that on there. Now your build options from here are Tactical Awareness, plus 10 back armor, and plus 10% damage from behind. From there you can go into Focus Might, which you gain 7% basic attack damage when you use Focus, which has a maximum up to 14% and lasts until you die. You can go into Elusiveness, which after dodging, you're going to gain 20 armor for 3 seconds. Amity is your other build path. This is going to gain you 80 hit points per second for 4 seconds after each kill or assist. From there you can go into Lifeline, which is 20% healing you when out of combat, and returns health much faster. Power Hungry is going to gain 10 focus charge for each kill or assist. Zenobia's level 5 skill specializations are Insult and Injury. This is going to be debuffs from Word of Spite are going to last 2 seconds longer. In Clash, if a debuffed enemy dies, it will reset all cooldowns. So if they have Word of Spite applied to them, it will reset all your cooldowns. Swift Sorrow. This is another one. Cooldown is reduced to 10 seconds. So your Wave of Sorrow will actually be hitting people very, very much. It will be on a much less cooldown. And during Clash, it's going to be reset down to 1 second on hit. This has an internal cooldown of 20 seconds. So just remember, you can basically chain this out twice if you wanted to, and then it's going to be on cooldown for a little bit longer. Reach of Despair. This is going to be increased targeting range for Mark of Despair. And during Clash, it's going to be hitting a foe, gives nearby allies 15% damage for 5 seconds. So let's talk straight up build options for a little bit. For Gaze of Envy. Greedy Gaze, this path will allow more survivability and slightly safer roaming if you have to duel. Your other option is Withering Gaze path, which will provide more teamfight utility. For Word of Spite, I would say Echo of Spite path for more team support, since you'll be cracking armor on multiple targets for increased damage. Or you can go into Demoralizing Cry path for more picking on single targets and more appeal, and maybe a little bit of a duel path, so you can go and duel other players. For Wave of Sorrow, I would say Sorrow's Wake for more survivability and teamfight focus. If you're going into Banishing Sorrow path, this is going to be more for a peel-oriented teamfight playstyle. Or you can do this a little bit, you can be flexible with this one. For Mark of Despair, Depths of Despair path for healing reduction and area control. This is going to be a much larger area, so you can see people coming. You can see enemies that are possibly stealth, so you can see that little pop-up for the poison and stuff like that. Or, what you can go into is Building Anguish for more damage-oriented and buff denial. From there, you can go into Cursed Soul options, Tactical Awareness path if you're going to be a little bit more roaming-oriented, or you can go into Amity for more survivability in and out of team fights. I really hope you found this guide helpful. We'll be putting some more out here soon, so if you like this stuff, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe. We'll have more guides for Gigantic Open Beta coming for you really, really soon here, like probably tomorrow. So I love you, take care, hope this was informative to you, and we will see you on the airship. Bye-bye.